we're doing it. Let's hop right into this because there's some really juicy, meaty stuff here that we need to be talking about. I've distilled this down into 3 major points. The very first thing, this is kind of a spoiler alert or a plot spoiler to life. So if you want to just figure this out for yourself, come back to this video later. But everything you're looking for, everything that you're searching for, all the goals that you have to achieve to get you to the place where you want to be in life, you are already there. That's the spoiler. You're there already. You have everything that you need. You don't need what this company is telling you that they're selling over here. You don't need this substance to help you wake up every day. You are awake now. You don't need this to help you get to sleep. We can go to sleep whenever we want to, right? And we'll be asleep when we die, right? But we don't even really need that much food. Really, I just got done with a 3.5 day fast, and it was really the best thing that I've ever done in a long time. So we really don't need as much as we think we do. And if we can transform our way of thinking to, just be happy with what we have, we can start to get into this sort of mindset, right? But it really goes deeper than that, right? It goes extraordinarily deep, right? Where it's what do you think that, if you become rich and famous, what do you think that that's going to give to you? That's going to give you a lot of money. That's going to give to you whatever you want, right? And here's a great point to insert the quote that Jim Carrey, uses. I wish that everybody could be rich and famous so that they could see that it's not everything, right? That's such a good quote. I love that, right? Because what are we really looking for? Some people want to be really rich and famous, and then other people don't want it. They love their anonymity, and then grass is always greener on the other side, right? A bunch of people that were rich and famous are like, I wish I could go back and be anonymous and just, have a decent amount of money and live my life, So what brings us that happiness, right? It's realizing our truer selves. It's realizing and looking at our truer, higher self, right? And I cannot tell you how to do that, right? Sometimes the journey is necessary, right? For instance, right, there's two examples of this that I love to talk about. It's Eckhart Tolle and Paulo Coelho, right? The first one, Eckhart Tolle, starts off The Power of Now by saying, basically, you're a poor man, right? And you're a beggar, you're sitting on the side of the road, and you're sitting on top of a box, and that box is all you have. And then someone walks by, this guy walks by, and you're like, excuse me, sir, do you have any money for me? He's like, no. Have you checked under the box? And he's like, why would I check under the box? This is my box. I've been here all along. You know what I mean? Of course there's nothing under the box. I know what's under the box. And the guy's like, just look under the box, right? And so he's like, all right, it's just a box. So he lifts up the box, and there's untold wealth under the box, gold, bricks, and everything, gems, diamonds, all this, right? And so what Eckhart says is, I'm that same person telling you to look under your seat, look at where you're sitting, what you've been looking for is there all along. And then here's a real story spoiler for the book The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. So if you really want to read that but haven't, maybe skip ahead 10 seconds. But basically, in The Alchemist, what happens is this kid goes on this whole long journey to meet all these people and go through this whole adventure, right? To realize that the treasure that he was looking for was at his house under a tree the entire time, right? He went to look to find the treasure, it wasn't there, and then he went back home, and he was like, oh, you know what? It was the journey anyways for me. And after he realized that, it was the journey and the friends we made along the way, right? After he realized that, he found the treasure under the tree in his front or backyard or whatever, right? So that's a story to try to point to you that what you're looking for, you already have that, So, because I'll say this and then we'll move on to the next point. Because what are we really ultimately looking for? We're looking for, we want to have money, we want to have love, we want to have fame, we want to have this, and we want to have that. And basically what we're trying to be able to have is we want to have whatever we want whenever we want it. And you have to ask yourself, right? Is that what is best for your emotional, mental, spiritual development? Is you being able to have whatever you want whenever you want it? Is that what you really need to develop? Is that what you really need to grow? Or do you need to be challenged? Do you need to have a lack of resources in order to learn how to be resourceful, and so forth? Right? It's like one of my mentors, my spiritual mentors, told me, sometimes the answer to your prayer is nothing. Right? Like if you ask for $1 billion and you don't get it, then sometimes the fact that you're not getting it, that silence at the end, sometimes that's the answer, meaning that that wasn't the best thing for you at the time, you know? So it's just an example, but let's move on to the next thing. The second thing is to learn how to control your state. And I'm sure if you've ever listened to or heard of or read any Tony Robbins, you've heard him say this. This is like probably one of the most important things that I would pull. If I could pull one thing out of Tony Robbins' work, it would be this. Learning how to control your state is so important. It's so important, because think about this. I just told you a bunch of stuff like, you're fine. Like, don't worry about it. What you need is already within you, right? But now let's talk about how to like get, what you want and go through a journey and like, enjoy life and have good food and good drink and stuff like this, right? Because that's really what we all want to do, is have good experiences here. So learning how to control your state is paramount to being able to do that, because the state that you're in is the emotion that you are going to attract more of towards yourself, right? I know it's opposites attract, but not in this case, right? Like is to like when it comes to consciousness. The more positive love, emotion, joy that you have, the more of that's gonna come to you, right? It's like, to he who has, more will be given. And that's what that's talking about. It's not just talking about money, right? It's talking about whatever you have, more of that's gonna come to you, right? Learning how to control your state is super important because of that. My dream job that I'm working at right now, my favorite job ever, I got it, and by controlling my state, and it was a huge revelation to me. It was where everything came into practice, all this work that I've been doing, inner work that I've been doing. And I was gonna go in for the job interview, and I was out in my car, and I was like, I had kind of prepared like, what do I do at an interview? What are questions they're gonna ask? What are questions that I should ask, and so forth. And I pulled up to it was at a coffee shop, the interview was, and I pulled up to the coffee shop, and I pulled up early, and I was like, I should look up more like what to do, like interview stuff, and like prepare really quickly before I go in. And I was doing it, and I just had this feeling inside me just say, don't worry about learning more new stuff. You've done all you can. Just put yourself in as positive as a state as you can right now. And so I'll never forget, I remember feeling and hearing that. And I was like, all right, bet. And so what I did was I just watched Key and Peele videos up until the moment of the interview. And I was in this happy-go-lucky, really funny, jokey mood. And lo and behold, needless to say, I ended up getting that job with flying colors. We won't go into too much detail, but I ended up getting the job. And that is the job that I have right now. And I really, if I never got another job in my whole life, I would be so happy. I love what I do. I teach music. I teach private lessons, guitar, music theory, and cello. And I get to be involved in music all day long. I get to make music. I get to be creative. I get to create things. I get to perform. I get to play. I get to help other people succeed in their musical goals. It's just my favorite thing. And I never really need or want to do anything more than that in my entire life. So that's just one example of how controlling your state will completely and totally align you, right? Because when you control your state, you're aligning yourself with who you want to be and where you want to go, and what energy you want to surround yourself with. And all that's going to come to you, right? By the way, if you want money, guess what? Rich people are not sad. It looks like that a lot of times, right? We see that. Rich people aren't sad. Rich people are generally pretty freaking happy. I know a lot of them, at least a couple, and they're really awesome people and they're really happy. And the stigma of rich people are like these sad, depressed people who work themselves to death it's incorrect. It's incorrect, and this is kind of the upside down sort of way of thinking that we have about this stuff. It's messed up. But I'm saying that if you control your state to be happy, joyous, and positive, you will align yourself with abundance and financial abundance and stuff like this, right? So let's move on to the third thing. The third thing might just be the most important out of all of these, but the third thing is to learn to let go of things. A lot of times this is very, very difficult. A lot will happen in life. There will be things that you think that you can never let go of. This person wronged you here, this person wronged you there, and if I let go of this feeling of guilt that I have, then I'm a horrible person, you know what I mean? I'll just run amok and just like feel not guilty for doing anything, and like just all these weird things that we have in our heads. But we need to learn how to let these things go in order to move forward, right? Because going back to the controlling your state, how are you going to be in a positive state when you can't let go of how you wronged that person? You can't forgive yourself. You can't love yourself, right? How are you going to put yourself in a happy state? How are you going to feel like you deserve that when you're still in the negative state of thinking about and feeling about how you messed up here and there, whatever? See, what happens is we get stuck in this cycle of like suppressed emotions and repressed emotions, and basically the avoidance and escape and escapism, and these are necessary for us, right? For us to not get overwhelmed in the midst of an emotional crisis. Sometimes we have to break things down. We can't let it go all at once, depending on who you are and where you're at. But what happens a lot of times when we can't let these things go is we are stuffing this negativity down inside of us. And when we build the habit of stuffing these emotions down, right? What happens is that it's within us, right? We keep it within us, right? Now, it's weird, right? There's this like psychic field that we have. And all I mean by psychic is it's a field that is of the mind, right? The mind definitely exists, right? So there's this like mind field and emotional field that we have, right? That things are inside of those, right? Because your emotions have to be somewhere, right? You're feeling them here, right? So those emotions are a thing that exist in a place, right? And so we keep them there, right? And we just put them to the side, right? We shove them down, we suppress them, we escape from them, we ignore them. And when we do that, basically what happens is we save them for later and they never fully get let go, and they come back up. And every time they come back up, we push them back down. And we just accumulate these experiences and these negative emotions that we cannot let go, right? And we just get filled, and all of a sudden we get filled with these negative emotions, and then we have a blow up, right? Which can manifest itself in many different forms. Learning to let go is a super, super important ability that needs to be learned as early as possible. This is essentially how you will let go. You need to let that emotion surface, and you let it be there. It's hard to do, right? Especially because when I first started doing this, right, what I noticed was when these emotions come up, you have a gut reaction to immediately, you do it without even thinking, you immediately push it away, you suppress it, you repress it, before you even get the chance to think about it. It's literally just a reflexive reaction to these emotions that we have, right? Like negativity, boom, get it away, right? But once you start realizing that, like, right, you let it come up and you let it be there. Once you can do that, which it sometimes can, depending on who and where you are, again, it can take a little bit, but once you can do that, you let it be there. You let it fully express itself. And as you're letting that happen, it will go through. It will move out of you, right? It will leave. It will be let go of, right? It's just like pooping, really. It's really just like pooping, where like You have to let it pass through you. You know, you just have to. You know, you can't keep it stored up inside of you. You're gonna explode eventually, right? And so we just basically need to learn how to poop emotionally. You know, that's a big part of what it is. So now, I did not do nowhere near justice to how to do that. I think I wanted to show this here. This book is by Dr. David Hawkins. It's called Letting Go, The Pathway to Surrender. And if this is for you, if you're thinking that that is something that you might want, I really wish, get this, because I wish that I would have found this a lot earlier. That's really it. Just as a recap, you're already there. You have what you need, right? So, you know, like, be at peace in that. Secondly, the way that you're going to get anything you want in your life is to control your state and be in a state that is in alignment with that, right? People call that manifestation, call it whatever you want, right? But be in a state of your choosing that is going to be in alignment with where you want to be and who you want to be. And the third thing is you have to let it all go. You have to learn how to let it all go, right? Just like Morpheus says to Neo in the Matrix, you have to let it all go, Neo. Doubt, disbelief, you have to free your mind. Love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I am thrilled that you came back. And if it's your first time, thanks so much for being here. Appreciate you. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all soon in the next one. Hope you're having a wonderful life, and can't wait for the next one.